I didn't deal with pressure well at all, and I had a tendency to, I wasn't very confident. I'd always struggled with confidence. So it was probably good that I was kind of almost overplaying the underdog role for myself, and I wasn't the favourite. I was one of the people that were, that could win it, of about 3 or 4 players. So I think I was heavily just concentrating on that. That if I didn't win, it wasn't like wasn't the worst thing in the world, and it wasn't like I was the front runner that everyone expected to win. So that kind of worked for me. Just keep thinking that no one's expecting you to win this. If you win, it's great, but it's not the end of the world. And that worked, and I was quite relaxed, not being too intense with the whole thing, and not overplaying. This is the biggest moment in your career potentially. So yeah, that worked for me.
Bowman's done it. He's done it! Ramia Shaw has come back from the dead to steal this World Championship. Well, the French general has finally done it. Farag's become world champion.
Shabini, she is the NASA PSA Women's World Champion.
Raneem El-Walili is crowned champion of the world.
Mohamed El-Shabagi's done it. Marwan running out of juice at the end there.
David's done it. She's done it! Laura Mazzaro. Third World Championship title in his own.
It was me, the Grinhams, and Nicole at that period that were sort of at the top of the game. So I was just like this giantess with all these really small, really fast, just physically unbelievable people that just had these builds that were just, tailor-made for squash. That were just, and I was an attacking player. I liked to take the ball in short, and they were just so quick. So I'd almost had to adapt the way I played to my opponents. I just couldn't continue to take the ball in short the way I wanted to. So I had, I'd started to be more patient. I was getting up and trying to stay in front of them and volley more, and just really try and bury them in the back of the court. So I'd had to sort of adapt my tactics according to who I was up against, and that really worked. And I'd worked a lot on that, and that really helped, I think, in that tournament. Nicole was just becoming increasingly dangerous. There were still players like Natalie Granger, who I really struggled with. Cassie was still in the mix, although she wasn't playing as well, but she was still capable of beating anyone. So in hindsight, I realised that that was a really good year to sort of capitalise on that moment. But obviously also not realising what was going to happen, that there was just going to be this drought for everyone for 10 years. It wasn't until 2004 that I ever went into a World Championships thinking I had any kind of chance of winning it. Because that sort of form where I started to get right up the rankings and win tournaments wasn't until 2004 really, maybe 2003. So I think even early 2004 might have been the first big tournament that I won. It was one in Qatar. So I hadn't really shown the form that would have allowed people to predict that I could win a World Championships. And even, I don't think I was top seed. I'm pretty sure Rachel was top seed. But I had a few wins against Rachel, and I'd beaten her in the Qatar Classic, which was directly before the World Championships. So it was literally the week of the World Championships where it started to dawn on me that I had a chance to win it. There was no sort of working towards winning a World Championships. It was just pie in the sky, the idea of winning something that big. And even during the week, it probably wasn't until things kind of went my way. I think it might have been Cassie that maybe pulled out of our match with an injury, and the draw kind of opened up for me. I was playing well. You just never knew with Rachel. She was just so unpredictable, and I'd had many losses against her. She was so difficult to play, and so quick. Unbelievable athlete in such an unusual game, very unorthodox. But I'd played her the week before, literally the week before in Qatar, and she just wasn't there. I don't know if it was mental or she just didn't turn up in the final. and it was quite quick, quite comfortable 3-love. So I had that going into this semi-final, and I just managed to get a lead. And she just. It would be interesting to hear her take on those weeks, actually, because afterwards she went on again. You know, we had lots of really close matches, but she wasn't. She just wasn't there for that period for whatever reason. You know, you just never know what other players are going through. And it was quite a comfortable semi-final 3-love, which obviously kept me fresh for the final. And then Natalie Grinham and Nicole David had a huge semi-final, like ridiculous epic match that just went on and on and on. It was still the old scoring, so it was like they stayed at like 9-all in the 5th for about 20 minutes, like just going hand in, hand out, just one of those matches. And I'd already won my semi-final against Rachel 3-love. So, and I think that's the point where I actually thought, oh my God, I could actually win this. I've got a chance here. And somehow I was quite calm to manage to not be too nervous about it. Again, I think it was the sort of role of the underdog, you know, not winning World Championships. I've done it many times before. It was, so, you know, I think the nerves really kicked in at probably 2-love up in the final and up in the 3rd. And I had a little wobble, and Natalie came back a little bit in that 3rd, but she was gone. She was physically, she'd just given everything in that semi-final. And then I managed to push on and win 3-love. I do remember thinking, just don't make any errors. Just, you know, this is yours to kind of give away now. I knew Natalie was tired. I knew if I could just keep the pace of the game quite high and keep the ball out the tin, keep it within the lines, and stay in front of her and just try and get that ball into those back corners. And I kind of knew that I couldn't really lose. So that's all I was concentrating on. It wasn't like, and the way I naturally played wasn't like that at all. I really wanted to try and hit winners and move players around and be more creative. But I just knew in that moment I needed to just hold it together and just be really solid and disciplined, and that helped because it was a simple tactic that I was able to stick to, and I was fresh and I was fit. So I remember going into the press conference, and I don't know, it's sort of a bit of an out of body experience. I just don't. It's all a blur. It's all a blur. I'm sorry. I can't give you anything. I remember Jahangir, obviously. I remember being aware of him watching, trying not to think about that because that was quite nerve-wracking. But I do remember the prize giving and him handing me the trophy and having a little chat with him. I remember all that, and I remember the celebration that night. I don't remember the very end of that bit.
More than 2 moves?
Yeah, a few more. Yeah, we were in, it was Kuala Lumpur, so Nicole David was already the kind of, the Queen of Malaysia, and she took us to like some swanky nightclub, and it was like, everyone in the place knew who Nicole David was. So by association, everyone knew who I was because I just won the World Championships. So, we got a nice VIP area and drinks on tap, and so, yeah, that was all good. It's definitely become more significant over the years. To be honest, I don't think I really fully understood the magnitude of it when it happened, and I think part of that is because you don't have that sort of hindsight when you're in it, so you don't sort of have an overview of in the place that it has in the context of your whole career, but also, when you win a World Championships, the first thing you're thinking is winning another one and what the next tournament is going to be. So if at the time I'd realised that that was going to be the pinnacle, then that would have been different. But it just doesn't really work like that. But at the same time, it was a huge moment, and I certainly enjoyed it and have happy memories of it. But it definitely was later that it really sank in what I had achieved and what it meant.